Good morning. Good Sunday morning. Everyone out there watching, thank you for joining us on a Sunday. This is the Apocalypse Movies Lord of the Rings of Power review show. We're going to talk about it's the last one. We're talking about the finale of Rings of
Yes.
Power.
We needed an extra day to process this one.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Well, listen, I actually just finished watching it for a second time. Moments ago, right before I logged on here.
Look at you putting in extra work for this show.
Listen, this was great. We'll get into it. My name's Keith Barnes. This is Jacob Bartley. Jacob, how's it going?
Pretty good, man. I am sacrificing watching my 49ers in order to talk Lord of the Rings. I don't know which one I love more, 49ers or Lord of the Rings, but they're very close.
They're very close, yes.
But I'm excited to talk about this. Look, I liked the episode a lot, and I liked the season overall, but I'm just excited because it's new Lord of the Rings, and we actually, now we know what the season was and is. And, we know what it was. They wrapped it up, and we can speculate going forward. Right. So I'm excited to talk about all of that.
Well, you're absolutely right. And not only that, but the stuff that we do, and I was reading an article about it on, I think it was on, I can't remember what it was, maybe Hollywood Insider or something. But what the writers and showrunners were talking about, a lot of this, everything that we talked about in each episode before, this season was about setting up Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what I had also kind of figured myself. Like, this is going to be a lot of setup and stuff. The familiar stuff's going to come later. But it definitely did in this episode. A lot of stuff that we were waiting for definitely culminated in this episode. Like you said, there's still speculation to be had going forward. But we did get some answers. But I think this was a satisfying conclusion to the season, personally. I really...
Yeah, I mean, yes, it's satisfying in the sense that all the questions that we had throughout the season, like most of them, I'll say not all, most of the questions that we had throughout the season, especially the major ones, were answered. And that's what I was worried about. Right. I didn't want to end the season not knowing who the stranger was. Not even having a hint toward who the stranger was, not having any hint towards who was Sauron. And they really messed with viewers in this episode, which was really cool. I will say, you saw me throughout the season. I was up and down, right? But 6, 7, 8, fantastic. And that's all I can ask is it was 8 episodes, right?
Yeah.
So at least 4 of them were great to me. Episode 2, episode 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
And then the rest are not bad. They're in between disappointing and good. So it's overall as a season, that's a win.
Well, they were saying, it's interesting you say that. They were saying once you know the stuff, go back and watch it a second time.
True,
watch these episodes. And in particular, they're talking and referencing Charlie Vickers' performance as Halbrand, which we'll get to. I don't want to say it just right off the top, but they're saying they didn't tell him. They told him after. They didn't tell him at first. When they went to shoot episodes 3 through 8,
wow.
Then they told him. And then if you watch, they say his performance actually is different in the last 3, from episodes 3 through 8. His performance is pretty. It's
okay.
That's what he
and I'm not 100% okay or satisfied with the Sauron thing, and I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But I do think that's pretty cool. I love that idea because in the script, you would have no idea. If you're just reading the script,
right?
As an actor, I'm saying, and you can totally do that. And I love that because that kind of helped him in his performance, in the first 2 episodes, acting as if he's not who he says he is.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just glad we kind of know where everybody stands at least, and what's coming forward, even though there's some things they didn't address also, but we can talk about that too.
Yeah. Well, let's jump right into it. because you got a close game happen here. I didn't. I
It's
wasn't
okay. I mean,
watching
it'll still be on by the
No, yeah.
time this episode, our podcast ends. So we are all good, man.
we got to tell everyone that you and I are both, as we speak, locked in a fantasy football battle as well.
That's true. Yep.
Which I'm going to lose, of course. But
we'll see. We'll see.
Nah. So anyway, this episode was. Oh, go ahead.
I have Josh Allen, so you know.
That's what exactly.
We'll see.
But although I'm starting Garoppolo, so I'm paying.
Hey, he has 2 touchdowns already, so
right.
let's
I know.
get it.
I'm very happy.
Hey, you have Kelsey, man. I'm nothing say. Hey, it could
monster game.
I'm telling you, this could be a close game.
Maybe. Yeah. You never know. But listen, Josh Allen's had 40 plus points in every game. It's just.
I know. Now the viewers are like, "What are they talking about?"
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry.
Hello, Flickin' Real. Thanks for stopping by. What's up, Roberto? Go 49ers. There we go. Mike K. What's going on, guys? Hello. And
thank you.
Flickin' Real. This is our buddy over there. I don't know exactly what this means, but he says this show FUX so hard. I don't care what anybody says. Good. I think that's a positive thing, right? I think that's what the kids are saying these days. If something's good.
Listen to the typo. You meant to say sucks.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I've seen your I've seen his reviews and his thumbnails, and I'm pretty sure he's positive about the shows. So yeah, I agree. I mean, like I will, like I said, I think it struggled in episodes 3 through 5. I think it struggled, but like when something's failing, or not failing, but if something's struggling, what you want is a major, like,
strong finish,
strong finish. Yeah. Basically.
Those last 3
it delivered. It delivered. Yeah.
To say those last 3, like you said, exactly what you wanted, exactly what you were hoping for. And you were absolutely right.
And like, I already forgave all flaws after episode 6. I said that. And then episodes 7 and 8 were just like 2 juicy cherries on top.
Sure. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. Well, this episode 8, it's called Alloyed. And also I just wanted to, well, actually, I'll get to that at the end. Because apparently Netflix made a big offer. Actually, they offered more money for this show. And the Tolkien estate turned them down. We'll get to why later. I'll tell you why. It's actually interesting.
Oh, I mean, honestly, I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I may as well say now. So they wanted to redo the trilogy. The original trilogy, and then start making a bunch of spin-off shows with like spin-off Gandalf.
Wow.
Aragorn.
I definitely. I mean, not honestly, even if Netflix was like, they want to do the same exact thing, I would have turned Netflix down, because Netflix, they just pump out shows, and then they'll, even if they have a great season 1 of a show, they'll cancel it.
Yeah.
And they're going to cancel Sandman after, I haven't watched Sandman yet, but I heard Sandman's amazing.
Incredible.
Everybody loves it. And then they don't want to do a season 2 because Netflix doesn't care about like continuing great shows. They just want to maintain subscribers. And it's like, to me, it's one and the same, Amazon, I think, is going to treat it with more care.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's why they went with the Tokyo State went with Amazon. Apparently Netflix they were going to kind of MCU this, like make it like an MCU type of universe, which they did not want, especially in redoing the trilogy again, which they were no, we don't, they didn't want that. But but as far as Sandman goes, it sounds like Neil Gaiman may have a deal where he can take the show elsewhere.
No, I meant Netflix is going to move on from it. Like, that would be Netflix canceling it, though. They would cancel it, and another
for them it
would pick it up. That's why I use the word cancel.
No, absolutely. Which I don't know, but the Tolkien estate, they declined. They liked the pitch that Amazon gave them better, and thankfully they got this. They wanted to go to stuff. They wanted to use more of the stuff, Tolkien's writings, that we hadn't seen.
Well, and we already seen that story, and it's like
exactly
everyone's just going to compare it. Like, everyone's just going to compare it to the original trilogy, and it's like, and honestly, we haven't even compared this show to the original trilogy because it's so different. Right, it's so different, and that's what I wanted. This is what I like. The story that's being told is the story I wanted to be told.
You're exactly right. And this is what they're doing is something I would like to see Star Wars do. just like a lot of people have said, go way back into the past and tell some stories there. It doesn't have to connect to,
And
Jedi.
look, I mean,
So.
it is. We do have characters we know, obviously.
Yeah.
So like,
it's going to connect, but later you can still. There's such a broad, amount of time that they can. Although you can make a case. We'll get to that. They're rushed.
And we also got to remember this is not in continuity with the movies.
Right.
It's not.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So, but this episode is called Alloyed, and it starts off with those 3 weird witch people. The stranger, they're following him, I guess. He drops his apple, and I'm like, oh no, it's his only food. So I'm curious. We never find out what happened to that apple. It was the last apple that anybody had.
Well, she tried to hand it back to him, right? And then it dissolved in her hand.
Oh, did it? I can't remember. I thought they just went away. I think. Because
she picked it up. Yeah.
You see that's one of those witches is.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's Nori, and then turns into one of the witch people. So one of them is a shapeshifter, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot their names. They had the names on the screen here. I meant to make note of their names. One of them was. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they had their names in the subtitles.
Right, and I didn't. I should have noted that. But yeah. Then they say, "Hey, we found you, Lord Sauron," and immediately you're just like, "Oh no, he is Sauron," or at least I was. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, for the first, like the first 10 minutes after they said that, I was thinking it's Sauron.
Right? Yeah, same.
And then I was like, no, it's not going to be, because I think no matter what happens, that character was going to be connected to, is it Nori? Right?
Yeah. Yes.
To Nori. And they were going to have a journey together. So like, if that was Sauron, I think like something similar would have happened. I just didn't see the character being like, I'm evil now. Like,
right.
I just didn't see that with that character. And I expected him and Nori to continue to have a relationship. So I'm like, I don't see that happening with Sauron. Like, unfortunately, like, and this is fine. Sauron's just pure evil.
Yes.
Like, there's not like, it's not like a villain where, even like Thanos, right, is not pure evil. So like Sauron. No, Thanos is, but I'm saying like, I mean, I guess you could say Sauron believes what he's doing is right too.
Well, and listening to, yeah, you're right. Yes.
But the portrayals that we've gotten of Sauron, I mean, it just portrays him as like, it's just evil and good. Like, that's kind of how Lord of the Rings is.
You know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think making the comparison, Thanos might be right. Because, and we'll get to the Sauron thing later, but I think based on what he was saying, it sounds like what Thanos was saying. Like, he just wanted peace. He just wanted it. So
exactly. And to be fair, we haven't got this on screen, like what Sauron's motivations are, like in live action. Yeah.
Or him actually speaking. Yeah, exactly. And telling who, this is what I was trying to do. This is where I came from. This is what I want to do. So yeah, that's great. And it's going to be very fascinating to see that going forward.
Mm-hmm.
But, So anyway, so we're led to think that this is Sauron. Get the titles, and then lost my place. Okay. So we jump to the elves. What's that place called? That elf kingdom where they live there?
I know the name.
Sorry, I can't. Sorry, I should know that. But
no,
they're back
all
there.
Good.
The elves are informing the king their failure to get the Mithril from the dwarves. And Galadriel returns and reunites with Elrond. They had seen each other a long time. We didn't get the dwarves in this episode, so we don't know what happens to them. At least so far.
Wow, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, we kind of left on a cliffhanger last episode here.
Wow, so like that's a great point. We've talked about all season how like some storyline or group gets left out, but and we've seen Elrond and the dwarves together a lot, so they were kind of their stories were intertwined. But I guess at this point, if this is the story they're telling, like this is where they ended it, there was no point to show the dwarves in a way.
Oh yeah. That's what I was gonna say. It's just as you're saying that, I was gonna say I guess they're part of this. And this story ended obviously last episode. I think from here, well, I don't know what we know that that city in the mountain. It's Moria. They're going to be mining the mithril there. I think that might just be it.
Yeah, I mean, so they last time, I think the last thing we saw was them closing up that hole that Durin cracked open and saying in all the mithril and the Bolrag, right?
Right.
So like I remember we talked about the Bolrag and like how we probably weren't going to see it again, and it's like that's interesting. Like I don't know, because I mean we'll speculate more later, but that's kind of disappointing that they showed that and we didn't see it this season.
We didn't see
again.
it. Yeah, exactly. Unless it's going to be a thing that just they have to fight or deal with themselves, because they're very stubborn. I'm sure they wouldn't accept help from the outside anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
But
yeah,
I'm just curious, the Elrond Prince Durin relationship, that was our favorite thing on this season, and to be disappointing if we didn't see any more of that at all. So but Galadriel, Elrond back together. Halbrand is there. They're getting him help from his injuries that he suffered in the last episode. So they're giving them the elvish medicine.
Now that I think about it, the fact that after the battle or whatever, and after the the volcano or whatever, and he was just like, first of all, we never saw him get injured.
Yep.
And then he was just laying in the cot, like that was really fishy. And when it happened, I was like, that's weird.
It did seem odd, right? Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I'll just say it now. I didn't really love that Halbrand is Sauron, to be honest.
Interesting.
And so the fact that I didn't want that to happen necessarily, I kind of took it out of the possibilities. So as I'm watching the show, 6 episodes, 6 and 7, I'm like, I'm not even thinking about him being Sauron. It's not a possibility to me at all. And then it happens, and I'm like, ugh. But I'll explain why more later.
Right. Gosh. Yeah. Garoppolo just threw an interception. Sorry. I don't know if you're watching. Okay.
It's in my peripheral. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. First half's over. It's okay. All right. Anyway. Well, yes. He goes to meet very, very kind of mysteriously and oddly appears to
Celebrimbor?
Celebrimbor, yeah. How to say
Celebrimbor?
Celebrimbor, yes. And he's just and Celebrimbor's like, shouldn't you be resting? And which is a great question. It's an odd scene, just seeing him there and the way he's acting. He's super flattering to Celebrimbor. He's just giving him all this praise and I can't believe I'm here, meeting the great Celebrimbor.
Well, obviously this was his plan all along.
Yes, and going back and watching it the second time, it was
freaking Halbrand, man. Now that we think about it, like he was mixing the metals all episode, talking about it.
Yes,
he, and then we know in the mythology, in the history, in the novels, Sauron was a part of the creation of the rings.
Yes,
and obviously he created the One Ring to rule them all. Which is coming.
Right. He tells him what to do with that piece of the mithril that they have. Have you thought about? He thinks that they don't have enough, and he's like, well, maybe this will enhance the metals that you do have. So you try that. And so
he knew what he was doing.
Exactly. So we jump back to Numenor. Pharazôn is preparing for the king's death. It's interesting. He's as we know, we know he has his own plans. I wonder if he. Remember, his plan was to whoever becomes king, is going to owe us. Like we're going to be in. He's going to be in our debt. I was thinking about it, and obviously, because we jumped to the ship. I'll get back to that scene in a second, but we don't know what happened to Isildur. Right? They never found it. Clearly, we know he's going to be the king of that. Of that whole area down there. That's why he's still there. Like whatever it is, he's gonna be their king.
I mean, there is no king of the Southlands. Obviously, there wasn't.
Yeah,
one.
The Southlands exactly as we found out. And I don't know if Gondor exists right now, or maybe he creates Gondor, or because remember their whole plan was gonna stay. Remember, his friend was going to stay back and help them rebuild. They're going to some other place and rebuild. So I wonder if that's going to eventually be Gondor, and all those other cities. But I wonder. It's just going to be interesting to see how that's going to go, or maybe Numenor might be destroyed. I don't know. I have no idea. But Farazan had his own designs of what he wanted to do. So we really didn't get to that at all either. So that's going to be another thread for season 2. See what this guy's plans were. Because he was just like eagerly waiting for the king to die. He's like sitting there by his bed, like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to raise the black flags. He's asking all those people to make statues.
And now the queen is blind. So like now he has even more.
There's an opening.
Like, he can manipulate things more.
Exactly. But the king,
I love that we have that character, by the way, because like I told you, his character and his motivations reminds me of Game of Thrones in the best way possible.
Sure.
But in Game of Thrones, there's like 8 of those characters that are all scheming at all moments of time.
All the time.
They're playing chess and they're all scheming towards power and what they want. So like, I love the inclusion of that character.
Is there a single? Probably not. Is there like a single person that's like the big bad person, or is it just a bunch of people all like at once?
Oh yeah, and I think this is a good thing. It's kind of a bunch of people at once, and then but like nobody's pure evil though. Like it's all
they just have their own
have good and bad motivations.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Well, there you go. Well, that's though. It's kind of like this, although the big bad is.
And I mean, this guy doesn't have evil motivations. He wants what's best for what's the name of their
Numenor
kingdom again? Numenor. But also he's willing to do bad shit to do it.
Right.
To gain it. And he wants power for himself, obviously.
Power for himself, but I think he wants to be behind the scenes enough to where it's not all on him.
Exactly.
But he wants enough power to be having enough influence over whoever is in charge to kind of shape things the way he wants it to be. But he wants somebody that he can manipulate into doing what he wants to do.
Then like of course if Numenor's in power, he's in power. Right. So like it's one and the same,
Yeah. So yeah, it's fascinating characters. Yeah, I mean, I look forward to seeing where that goes next season. The king thinks that Arian, which is Elendil's daughter and Isildur's sister, thinks that he's his daughter, Miriel. He tells her to go look at that ball. I forgot what it's called. But not for too long, because he cannot distinguish what is from what was and what was from what will be. Which is interesting. And she goes, she unveils it, but then we never see her again. So we never
see her again. So I'm glad that happened, because first of all, they do not leave the king unattended with nobody around like that.
I know, right?
Just saying. But also, I mean, I guess they trust her or whatever. But I'm glad they did that, because I like her character, but I was worried that she was gonna get put to the side and in favor of her brother and her dad, and not have an important role to play. And now I think she's going to have an important role to play.
An important role. And it seems like she's kind of on the side of Farazan, whatever it is that his designs are for.
And she doesn't know that he has bad intentions,
Right.
But like, I like that dynamic, because now it's going to be interesting when her dad and her brother come back into play.
Right. Exactly right.
By the way, what's Isildur's dad's name?
Elendir.
He honestly might be my favorite character on the show. I mean, other than Elrond and Durin.
Sure.
Like Elrond and Durin, they've been my favorite. But like outside of them, like as an individual character, because I like Elrond and Durin together. That's what I love so much about them. But as an individual character, Isildur's dad is Elendil. He's incredible.
I said Elendir. You're right. Elendil.
He's incredible, man. Like just performance-wise, his character, like he's a good father. He's
very honorable character. I think I agree with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Corey Castle. Yeah.
Yes, Elendil. I said Elendir.
Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, and we got Roberto in the chat. Let's check out his comment. He says, "This show got my attention late. I've watched the movies and that's it, but I'm enjoying it. Looking forward to the second season." Yeah. I mean, we've been watching it since the beginning because we're big Lord of the Rings fans, but I'm glad it caught your attention late because, like, you know, as a Lord of the Rings fan, I think this is a must watch.
I think I agree.
Absolute must watch.
Completely agree. Yeah, absolutely. It's weird because I was definitely interested in it. I remember a couple of years ago I was talking about it on our other channel, Apocalypse Now, our other show, Apocalypse Now, and I was excited about it, but obviously it was delayed by COVID. But I just remember I was kind of like, I don't know. And obviously with all the other stuff, complex stuff that's happening in TV, it kind of got in my mind. It was kind of put to the side, but right up until it was coming out, and you and I were going to do this, I got into it, but I didn't know what to expect from the show though, at all. So
that's interesting because I was the opposite. I was so hyped for this show, and my anticipation for this was way more than House of the Dragon. Honestly.
Oh, really?
And part of that is because we had Game of Thrones not too long ago.
Yeah,
we hadn't had Lord of the Rings since the Hobbit trilogy, and those were disappointing.
Right. Sure.
So I was starving for more Lord of the Rings content. That's part of the reason why. And I'll still say that House of Dragon is a better show for sure, which is surprising to me. But I was so excited for this, and that's probably why I was like disappointed in the mid season. My anticipation level was through the roof.
Right. Right. I got you. Yeah. I totally understand that. Oh, do you think too, because of the way I know people didn't love like the way Game of Thrones ended, you know, like that whole last season.
I mean, that's part of it. Not necessarily for me. I thought this season 8 was fine, but yeah, that did play into it too.
Sure,
obviously,
yeah. Well, as we've been saying, I'm super hyped for season 2 of this now. So we're gonna.
Oh my goodness! Yes,
I'm so glad that we found out last week they're shooting right now. So,
like, I don't know if they're gonna do House of the Dragon season 2. I don't think so.
Oh, really?
But if they do, because I mean that's we don't know yet. But if they do, I'll be equally excited for both of them.
Right. Does that show? Did Game of Thrones? It wasn't every year. Was it every year, or was it?
It was every year. There was.
Oh, okay.
There was a year where it took like 18 months to get out the next season. There was a time like that, but other than that, it was basically every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, because a lot of HBO shows they'll go 2 years, sometimes more in between seasons.
Yeah.
We had 3 or 4 years in between episodes of season 2 and 3 of Barry. So, which is interesting. So,
well, I think that was COVID related though, but
the last Westworld too. Last season, Westworld was in 2018. Before.
But Game of Thrones, they couldn't. That was like the most popular show of all time. So they
right. That's a good point. Well, thankfully, this one seems like it'll be next year. So season 2 of this. So, all right, where we leave off? Where we left off. The Queen, the King. Celebrimbor, Galadriel, and Elrond are trying to convince the Elf King that they can combine the Mithril with other metals to forge an object that will give them power. And initially, they're like, oh, what? Maybe like a sword, or maybe like a
crown.
They said, but then he's like more like a crown. He says it's got to be something round, so the power will kind of stay circulating in it.
Oh, I loved. First of all, the Forging of the Rings was beautiful. I love that explanation. He says a circular thing is ideal, so the power can like basically shine off each other, and like it just
and just continuously.
It's like sunlight. If sunlight is in a circular thing, it's gonna get way hotter, right?
Right.
If it's like a metal ring, it's gonna get way hotter than if it's just like on a flat metal slab,
And this was an interesting scene because Celebrimbor starts saying all the same stuff that Adar said about Sauron, like what he wanted to do with the power. He wanted the power of the unseen world, a power that was not of flesh, but was like above flesh or something like that, and which immediately makes Galadriel suspicious, very suspicious. She's looking at him like, How do you know that? Where do you get those words from? Like, why are you saying that?
And
Which was interesting.
yeah, and is that stuff that Halbrand was saying to him during their private meeting, like when they were talking, or do you think there's something else going on with Celebrimbor?
That's what I'm wondering. It doesn't seem like it, but it's I don't know. I didn't know what to make of that. It was obviously suspicious, but it's what it made Galadriel immediately suspicious. So she sends a record keeper of some kind to go get all the info on the royal lineage of the Southlands. It's like, don't tell anybody. Just find out all the information you can. Who are their lines of kings? When the lines start, where does it end? So immediately you know, okay, there's something going on there. We jump back to the three witches. They're talking to the stranger. They're telling him to go to a place called Rune, which is a familiar place, to learn about and basically restart his powers. Learn about who he is, restart his powers, and how to become the great Dark Lord Sauron, which he seems to be confused by. He's just like, he's kind of like, me? Like, he's the way watching it the second time and seeing his performance, you can see he doesn't feel like this is right. And it's at this point I'm wondering, and just like you, I'm wondering, like, I don't know. That doesn't seem like this guy. He doesn't seem this guy hanging out with the Harfoots all this time. He doesn't seem like he would be the Dark Lord Sauron. But I remember I was feeling very like disappointed and hurt over that. Like, no, I can't believe this guy would be him. But the Harfoots show up to warn him / rescue him, is what the notes I wrote. Sadok is attacked. They nearly kill the Harfoots when the stranger gets up to try to help. And one of them drops the staff, right? And I think it's Nori picks it up.
Mm-hmm. She does,
yeah. And no, they attack him with the staff as he's trying to help, and they're doing it like doing this with it, and it looked exactly like, when Gandalf and Saruman were fighting, and so I'm like, oh, okay. So that immediately, that's when I started thinking, oh, I don't think this is Sauron, but I thought maybe he's Saruman, because I was still kind of on that line of thinking.
Yeah,
because that's how I saw.
No, I mean, I they haven't said his
directly
name
that
yet, but they called him the Istar, which means wizard, wise man or wizard. Okay, look, now that Halbrand is Sauron, I just want the stranger to be a wizard, a new wizard. Like, just be a blue wizard.
He says a line at the end, which I'll get to. I don't want to say it yet. That it's my favorite part of this entire season of the show, and we'll get to it.
Okay, maybe I missed something. I don't know.
Oh, it was my favorite thing in this whole show so far. But yeah, we'll get to that. But yes, he takes the staff. He fights them back. He says, "You from a line I should have noted, but basically you came from the shadows. Shadows, you go back," or whatever he says, and then takes the staff and they disappear. Like they turn into skeletons, weird, white, scary skeletons, and they turn into moths. and then they disappear. But just before they go, they realize, oh, he's not Sauron. He is the other, like you said, or the Ishtar. And then they say and then he cuts them off and he says, "I'm good." So yeah. So then we're just like, okay, he's not the Dark Lord. So that was nice. But yeah, you definitely, as soon as they said Istar, exactly, like, okay, no, he's definitely a wizard.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll see. I mean, I do overall, either way, like, I'm so glad that he's not Sauron.
All right.
Honestly, because like I don't know how you go from like this character, talking to Nori and basically expressing that he's good. That was basically the whole journey of the character.
Right.
Realizing who he is. And it's like, even though he doesn't know who he is, his natural inhibitions are going to come out through his actions and what he does, right? So he's been showing that he's a good guy and he wants to help people.
And that he's helpful, yeah.
How do you go from that to him being Sauron? It wouldn't have made sense. So I'm so glad that he's
just even as Nori's trying to convince him, because he's like, hey, no, stay away from me. They told me who I am. And she's like, no, you're good. Like, you were sent here to help us. I know.
Oh, I loved that line that she said. She says, no, you choose what you are.
That's right.
By what you do.
Exactly.
And it's
right.
like, that is, people need to like take that life lesson. You know, it's like, you're not who people say you are. You're who you are.
That's right.
Yeah. I do want to address Corey Castle's comments real quick. They said, it's interesting they chose to have Halbrand involved. And they also say, you guys knew it was Halbrand all along, right? Question mark. No. I mean, we speculated it. A lot of people speculated online. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I don't know, Keith, were you leaning that way?
No. Yeah. No. I knew it was a possibility, but I didn't. No, I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
So honestly, I was happy in the sense like it was a surprise.
Yeah.
A little bit. I just don't. Like, for me, I guess I liked the actor playing Halbrand, but I don't know if I like the actor playing Sauron. That's my problem with it.
I see what you're saying.
I don't feel like when they showed him at the end, like smiling or whatever, and like standing there with his black cloak in Mordor, I'm like,
oh, that see now that I was that
it just didn't seem believable. Like I'm not.
Oh, see, I was
the
opposite.
Come across. I need Sauron to be intimidating. He's not intimidating at all to me.
Well, he's not wearing he's got all the things on it, and he's got the big pointy crown and stuff. Like but they said he would take those forms like of just a regular guy like that. Like, to me, I think that works. But see, that scene, that shot at the end, and we'll get to it later, but I was convinced there. That's where I was looking at him, because the camera transitions from the previous scene with the rings to his eye, and you see the fire not doing this. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's okay. I can kind of see. I see what you mean. He seems to, I don't want to say pretty, but
I mean, that's kind of it too. But the interesting thing about this, I want to bring this up before we don't forget, is him and what's the elf, the elf orc guy, the Aruk.
Oh, Adar.
Adar. Okay, Adar. Him and Adar are actually enemies. So Adar thinks that he killed Sauron. Remember when he was standing over him in the woods and he says, "Do you remember what you did to me?"
Yeah.
They have a beef. And then when him and Galadriel were talking earlier in this episode, he said, she's like, "Why did you go with me to the Southlands and have me fight Adar and the orcs?" And he's like, "Because
they were my enemies too, or something.
Fight my enemy and yours."
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, I love that it's not just Galadriel and the good guys versus Sauron and the bad guys. There's different things going on, and I love that.
Well, let's go right into that, because I say on the ship. Sadly, by the way, we point out, sadly, Sadak dies from his injuries.
Yes, and
I like that character.
I love that character, the Trailfinder.
Yeah,
and honestly, for me, look, I didn't want his character to die.
Right.
But if we came out of this episode or this season without like
any real loss,
at least some type of loss,
I'd
be like, wait a minute, hold on, let's back up, rewind. We did not, other than the king of Numenor, which he was old and sick and dying, we lost no important characters at all. Did we lose any throughout the way? I don't think so.
Isildur's buddy, he died.
Oh yeah, but like, how many lines of dialogue did he have? Honestly,
not
two.
Yeah.
So losing the Trailfinder, like I said, I loved his character, great performance, but like I didn't want him to die, but I'm glad he did because of the stakes. It raises the stakes of the show for me.
Marcus Mariota is going to regret burning that time out right now. Sorry. So and he's the leader of that whole tribe of people too. So that it's not just some random, like, he was an important person.
So yeah. It wasn't just like a random Harfoot that was with them on the journey. Like so sad to see him go, but I think he sacrificed himself for the mission and it was a beautiful
who he was skeptical of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
And it was like a beautiful ending for the character watching the sunset rise,
Mhm.
and they sat with him.
yeah, that was very nice, very very nice. So, but yeah, so back on the ship, Queen Muriel is adjusting to losing her vision. Her and Ellen Dill have a very nice talk about whether or not is this all going to be worth it. I hope it is, basically. And he seems like even though he's lost his son, he still believes in whatever that she wants to do. He's still basically staying. He still got her back, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a nice scene between the two of them. But they arrive back in Numenor to find the Black Flags. The king has passed away. We go back to the lab. They're still trying to figure out the metal stuff. So Galadriel gets the information she wants. The info guy, the records guy, shows up with a scroll. She walks out, goes down to those little stream to read it, and of course Halbrand sees it. He's kind of curious what it is that she's reading. He shows up and is like, "Hey, we figured it out. You know, we need to distribute the power." Basically, they figured out to distribute the power into 2 objects.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, 2 crowns? And he's like, no, not exactly.
Gotta
Actually,
be smaller.
Something smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And then we obviously know exactly what he's talking about. She immediately confronts him about not being who he says he is. Now, at this point, what are you thinking?
Okay, so at this point, so basically at the end of that conversation, they play like dark villain music.
Yes.
So that's when I was like, all right, he's Sauron.
It still caught me off guard.
Where these lined up, but after hearing the witches say he's not, that the stranger is not Sauron,
it's the very next scene.
Those moments together,
yes,
Halbrand Sauron.
Yeah. I immediately went in my head.
I could have pulled a quick one. He's somebody else evil,
whoever,
but I knew he's evil.
Right. Right. It still caught me off guard. I wasn't clicking. Like I wasn't thinking. Wait, sorry. Like I thought about it, but I was like, no, not nah. But as soon as she asked, "Who are you? What's your name?" And he says he's been awake since before the breaking of the first silence, and that he has had many names. And I went, oh. Yeah. That was crazy. She immediately has a vision of her brother. They're having this conversation, seemingly from beyond. I don't know if that was him or if that was actually her brother.
No, I think that was Sauron.
Sauron talking as her brother. I don't know.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I mean, even watched it the second time. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I think that was like a mind trick thing.
Yeah,
because she said, "Get out of my head."
She says, "Get out of my head." Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it was so weird. Like I was like, "Where is she? Like, is she actually in the middle of the ocean, or like she was just laying in the river? Like, why wouldn't?" Okay, does Sauron think that she's gonna eventually change her mind and join his side? Because why wouldn't he kill her?
Because he says to her, she has a vision of her on the raft at sea. He tells her that he wanted to see after Morgoth was defeated. He felt like a release grip from his neck was released, and he felt the sunlight, and it was the first time he felt like the light, right? And so he just says he wants to see and feel the light again, and tries to get her to join him by saying it's because of her. He's like, no, you said. She's like, basically like, no, you're evil.
Yeah,
like, no,
you're right. It's
you said all the stuff I'd done before could be forgiven if I go in this direction now. So if we're together.
Corey thinks that he's still playing her. So Corey says no, he's always a deceiver. He was still playing. Oh yeah, I mean, yes, I think he's playing her, but I think he legitimately wants her by his side. And what does this remind us of? I mean, plenty of things like Kylo and Rey. Like it's always
Darth Vader and Luke. Like
it's kind of like the Master joining. But also, if you take all those things so when they're, I think they're in Numenor when he's in a cell or whatever, and she's talking to him, she's trying to convince him to go back with her to the Southlands and to like reclaim his title. Yeah. And so knowing that he's Sauron now, he took all of the things that she was saying. He actually took them to heart as Sauron, as Sauron's motivation. So he genuinely was like, I don't want to say he's falling in love with her or whatever, but like he genuinely was like building a connection with Galadriel, like without her really knowing who he truly was.
So give me just 1 sec to find this article, because I was reading an article about this. I didn't remember this. I had it bookmarked. Should have had it queued up, ready to go. Sorry. So basically, Cate Blanchett's version of the character, she said that Sauron. I don't have it, but basically, she said in the Fellowship of the Ring, that Sauron is always like they basically spoke about they had a connection, right? And then Sauron's always trying to get to me, but like I've been able to resist him or something like that. Like she talked about, she referenced this in the old trilogy. So that's interesting to see that dynamic between the two of them. I had never noticed that before. I was reading an article that pointed that out, and I went, "Oh, I never caught that before." But this is an interesting thing that they've chosen to make a series about this, or make this like to focus on this relationship between Sauron and Galadriel. It's fascinating.
I never thought I never really thought about it like that. They would have a relationship, really.
Yeah, because clearly, like the way he was talking to her earlier about, he was like, "Hey, I just want to thank you. You believed in me. I was giving up myself, and you believed in me. We're gonna." And I noted, and he was like, he said to her, "What does he say? Like, you helped me," or I can't remember what he said, but he was like, he said to her, "I won't forget it. I won't forget what you've done for me." And he puts his hand on her shoulder and leans in. It's like, "I'll see to it that no one else forgets either," or something like that. And I watched it the second time. I just like, oh, that was interesting. That was fascinating right there. The way he said that, and that line, it's just that line period. But yeah. So it's a great performance from both these two actors. I want to go back and watch the whole thing, each episode again, and just now knowing, in particular, the scenes with the two of them.
Yeah. So I do want to mention real quick, I'm back to like being questionable about Galadriel. Whether I like her or not.
Why?
Because all right. So she, my allergies are messing with me a little bit, so my bad. Yeah, but she got fooled. She got tricked right after she already broke Elrond's trust before. Or no. Sorry, Elrond didn't trust her, and he said, "I'll never make that mistake again."
Right.
Okay. Now she messed up. She trusted the sworn enemy. She was right under his nose, nose he was right under her nose the whole time.
Yeah.
And she screwed up. So if she just doesn't want to admit that she messed up, is she that selfish?
I don't know.
Like,
if it's
all right. So if Halbrand is Sauron and he's right there, he was right just there. They need to know. Like everybody needs to know. She's so selfish in keeping that to herself.
Of course. She's not perfect. That's one thing I like about this character, is that, listen, she's flawed too. And this series has not made that secret.
So,
she is a
here's
flawed
the thing.
person.
I'm not saying she's not a good character. She's a great character.
Yeah.
I just don't like that. Like, so they're doing the right thing. They're trying to elicit this type of response out of viewers. Like, they don't want you to love Galadriel 100% completely and hate Sauron. Like, they want it to be like gray areas with both characters.
There's blurred lines between, but I think that's a good thing. Listen, we get that. I was thinking about this because I'm reading people that are saying some of it is just sexism or whatever, but a lot of it is people are just Mike K. Yes, that's what I'm saying. So many of our characters that we love. Luke Skywalker is very flawed.
No, of course, yeah. And
Obi-Wan Kenobi is flawed. Tony Stark is flawed. Captain America's flawed.
So I'm saying, like, as that's a good thing that they're making her flawed, right?
Yes.
And I'm saying, like, if I was a person in that world, I would not like her because I would be like, "What's wrong with you? You're so selfish." Like,
listen.
But as a viewer, I acknowledge that they're doing great storytelling with her.
Yeah. hey, there's a lot of people that don't like her. That's why the king was like, "You're not even supposed to be here." Like, what do you?
Oh, I know they don't really like her, to be
They were
honest.
sending her to heaven, basically.
Elrond likes her because they have a close connection, and he
Right.
said the story of how they met and
Right.
all that, and that was
Right.
pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, it was a great scene between the two of them. It was really good. Basically, I love what he says. He's like, "Well, what would you do when you tell them that you were my ally? Like, what will you do when you tell them that Sauron lives because of you?" And she yells back, "You will die because of me," which is a great scene. I think that this is another thing, and it's a flaw of hers. She wants to handle this herself, rather than
yeah, she wants to be the one to take him out.
Yeah, and not from a selfish point, but I think she doesn't want she just wants to handle it herself because it's her mess. She feels like, "Look, I did this. I'm gonna fix it." You know, that's what I took from it. You know,
Yeah,
but it is very selfish either way.
Yeah, Corey mentions another thing here that's very interesting. Was there ever even a water worm or other people on wreckage in the beginning, or did Sauron put that into her head and just pick her up himself?
That's interesting.
I honestly, I'm with you there. I mean, I don't know why they would ever they have no reason to go back and tell us, like, why waste screen time doing that? But I would not be surprised.
Because who were those people and why was he with them? If you know what I mean? Like, so that's a good, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, he could have been like, so, hey, after I got defeated by Adar or whatever, I'm just gonna like pretend to be this person and actually so they could have been real.
Well, but, like he said, and he mentioned this again in this episode. He said he picked up that crest off of a dead man. You know, he said. So yeah, maybe
just literally took that man's body
identity, took his body identity, whatever. Yeah. Exactly. But so she wakes up. Elrond is there. She asks her to confirm that he is Elrond. But as you just mentioned, Halbrand's gone. She says Halbrand's gone, but she doesn't tell him, Elrond and Celebrimbor, that he's Sauron. But she does convince them to, and she basically tells them, if he ever shows back up, don't talk to him anymore. Like, we're not dealing with him anymore. And they're just like, okay.
Like, what?
Exactly.
Would Elrond? Hey, if I'm Elrond, when I find out about this, I'm never trusting her again.
Well, we'll get to it at the end. He does find the scroll with the information, but he doesn't.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that is right.
But just the information, it doesn't say that he's Sauron. Just the information that he's not who he says he is.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That could also be okay. So he's probably thinking like, oh, he was just posing as the king of the Southlands. Like, that's enough to like be like, get out of here. We don't trust you.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
But I will, if we don't mention this, I want to say I love the way that Galadriel, Elrond, and Celebrimbor are looking at each other and the ring at the end.
Well, so yes, exactly right. And she convinces them to make a third object to balance the power between the two. I think she says the two, or what's it? One is I see. I should have noted this line. I meant to write it down. One will corrupt. Two will divide. I think she says. But
3 will be balanced.
Third will make balance. So
Celebrimbor says that.
Celebrimbor says that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she says that it must be power for the elves only, untouched by other hands. So basically, we're going to get the forging of the 3 rings for the elves here. Celebrimbor needs her brother's dagger. There's gold and silver from Valinor because he needs high quality metal to forge with the mithril. So yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna part with your brother's dagger for anything, I guess that's the best reason to do it. And I'm wondering, okay, so in the mythology, in the book mythology, and I don't know why or how, I don't remember, but I think Elrond gets a ring, Galadriel gets a ring, and then somebody else gets a ring. It's a character we haven't met yet.
Okay.
It's another elf, an older elf. But it's not the king, though, which I'm wondering, why wouldn't the king get a ring? Because they were going to make a crown for him.
Right.
think it's Cerdon, like Cirdan is the character who gets a ring in the books.
Okay.
And we haven't met that character yet, but they did say that character is going to be in season 2.
Oh, okay.
So, but I'm wondering, does the king turn down a ring?
Well, he didn't even want to do this. They're trying to convince him of that.
I like the Elf King, honestly. Because like you said, he's not afraid to like just tell Galadriel off. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're not even supposed to be here. And he tells Celebrimbor, he tells all them shut it down.
Right.
And then Elrond has to beg him basically.
Yes, and give him this short amount of time. What I think he said 3 weeks to try to figure this out. But yeah, you're right. He doesn't seem. I don't know if I'm on the fence about the king here. I don't know if because he said he wanted to build something that could forge. Yeah, he's building the towers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least one of them.
Like, what do you mean? He's up to no good, you think, or what?
I don't know. I'm still on the fence. I don't know if he's.
I just think he's like, I think he's a stubborn king.
Yeah.
And aren't all kings stubborn?
Similar to the Dwarf King.
But I don't know, because a lot of times they'll be like, yes, let's do, like, they have the king like agreeing with the heroes like a lot of the time, and it's just like, I like his dynamic. Oh
yeah, same. Oh, it's just they have an idea, something that could save them, and he's just like, and they want to give the power to him, and he's like, nah. So that's what makes me think maybe he's not bad. He's just.
Well, also that's what I like too, because he could be like, yes, give me make this happen no matter what. He's not. I like him because I don't think he's selfish. I think he's.
Maybe he just
like he wants to save all the elves.
Right.
He's like, it's no good if we can only save me.
Right.
Like, what's the point of that?
Yeah, that's fascinating, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. So we jump to the stranger. Stranger and Nori are talking. He says he remembers. She's asking him what he remembers. He says he remembers fragments, but not its body. Basically, he's got to go to Rule to learn everything that he needs to learn about who he is, where he comes from, what he's supposed to do. Rule is a place that was mentioned by Aragorn in a place that he had been.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what he said about it, but I saw that name. It's like a weird place to set us off to. It's not a place that we had ever seen. They said it was way off to the far east, and that it's kind of a weird place from what I read about it. But yeah, Aragorn said he had been there. I remember him mentioning that he had been there on this journey as Strider.
I like that
as a ranger.
They're expanding on these ideas and these things that we didn't really like learn much about before in the other movies, and like the unseen world. Like I know, I guess that's where like. I think they said that's like when you put the one ring on and they disappear, kind of, like that's
ghost
where
world.
They are.
Yeah.
But they're saying like it's kind of like the unseen world is kind of like, I don't know, kind of like the Force, It's like
it's a good right.
Yeah.
He says, or she says to him, they called you Istar. It's like, yeah, Istar means wise one, in your tongue means wise one, or wizard.
There we go.
Which is great. So Nori's gonna go. She's gonna go with him. She decides she's gonna go with him. Touching farewell between her and her family and friends, but I felt like that dragged a little bit. Like it just.
So they already hugged. Yeah, it really did. Honestly,
it was very nice.
Nori her and Poppy have to go say bye again after they already said bye. And they're also doing their best Sam and Frodo impression.
Yes, exactly.
Which
I mean, that's her best friend. I get it. They're best friends, and they may never see each other again. So it was very nice, but I thought it did drag a little bit. I understood. Like she was hesitant to say bye at first. She was just like, okay, just bye, basically just go. And then she ran back and was crying.
I get it. She lost her family and everything. She doesn't have anybody. But and also, hey, she hinted that she might be the future Trailfinder.
She might be the new leader. Yeah.
Which is awesome for that character.
Yeah, that was very cool. So I wonder, and I hope we see the Harfoots again.
100%. And I like this. I think we will for sure, because I like that Nori goes with him, and that now we're gonna have like, okay, we're gonna spend time with Nori and the wizard, and then we're gonna spend time with the Harfoots. Now we got another storyline to connect with, and it reminds me of the original trilogy, how they the characters were constantly getting separated.
Yes.
And seeing the reunions, I love Lord of the Rings and reunions with characters is the best.
Absolutely.
And I can't wait till they see each other again.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. It gives her, Nori has a thing where she's going to help him, but she's got to get back home too. So it definitely gives her another.
And hey, they're going to be right in the thick of it. Who can challenge Sauron other than him? Like,
that's exactly right. Exactly right. So, well, they both, they're going to leave. They set up to leave. They both realize they don't know which way to go. He says, "There's a sweet smell in the air coming from this way." And she's like, she kind of turns and starts sniffing. And he says, "When in doubt, Eleanor Brandyfoot, always follow your nose." And I went, that's Gandalf. Like, he is absolutely Gandalf, because Gandalf said exactly that to one of the hobbits. I can't remember which one. But I nearly screamed it out. I was watching this last night, and I said, that's Gandalf. I knew he was Gandalf.
Wow. That
was my favorite part of this whole series.
That they made it so obvious that was like a clear moment.
Yes.
Like a big moment. It wasn't said for no reason.
Yes. I flipped out when I heard that. I was like, that's Gandalf. I can't remember who he said it to. It may have been, it could have been Frodo. I don't know. But he said exactly that line. Ian McKellen said it. Always follow your nose. Oh.
So, all right. Look.
Yes.
Corey brings up a good point, that he was not around during this age, but it doesn't matter. It's an adaptation. They can do whatever they want.
They're playing fast and loose with the timeline on the series.
Yeah.
So yes, Tolkien did, but they're for the sake of this show, and like you said, it's an adaptation. It's sort of like what we see with the comic book movies. Like, there's stuff that's not exact,
Exactly. It's an adaptation. And I'm okay with that. Yeah, it has to be. Unless they're messing with us again. It's like a wizard thing.
Yeah. Just something they always say. Yeah.
Shoot. Hey, it might be Gandalf.
The way he was talking, and I'm watching it, like the way he was talking, it sounded like, oh my gosh, he sounds like Gandalf. He's saying stuff that Gandalf says.
Also, remember, this is not the Ian McKellen Gandalf.
Right.
It's not. So we're in for a different adaptation of the character, which is fine. Hey, we get that all the time in different mythologies. So I
firmly believe, I'm 99.9% sure that's Gandalf.
Yeah, some fan I am. I didn't even catch that, but I'm with you, man. It's going down, Gandalf and Sauron, I guess.
Yep. So, and for that matter, Elrond as well, and Isildur. Isildur is the one that takes him down. So I'm curious to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Curious to see where he goes, man. But so that's basically it. Finally, we see the forging of the 3 elf rings.
Well, and like we said, I mean, Galadriel and Elrond are going to have rings, so they got to be involved in this fight.
Elrond finds a scroll with the info on it and goes to confront Galadriel just as the rings are revealed, but he doesn't say anything. But they do share a look, and he does notice that she notices that he has that scroll. So she knows that he knows something.
That he's not who he says he is.
He's not who he says. Yeah. So I'm curious to see. Obviously, we're gonna get where they pick up where they left off there. I'm curious how that conversation is gonna go. And then basically I noticed they show a top-down shot of the rings, kind of coming down, and the image of those stars is on the slab with the rings on it. Those stars that the stranger was looking for.
That's crazy.
I noticed that, so that's also interesting too. So, and then the scene, like I said before, it transitions to Sauron's eye.
Yep.
And you see the reflection of the Mount Doom in his eyes, and then it zooms out, and he's standing there with a cloak, looking all sinister and villainous, staring at Mount Doom with a little smirk on his face, and then he appears to be making his way in that direction, and that's it. That's the end of the episode, end of season 1 of Rings of Power. So, like I said, a lot of questions were answered, a lot of big reveals. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, it was a very satisfying ending for me, and super excited for season 2. They said he's going to be the big villain in season 2. Sauron. So
I would
he's
hope
the big
so.
villain. Period. But like specifically, he's the guy. Like it'll be, for season 2. So I'm wondering.
I guess you could say Adar was the villain of this season.
Sure. Yeah. I'm wondering if they're going to jump ahead to. I'm just wondering.
They can.
Just you know what I mean.
I mean, yeah, that's true. They're going to have to age up like Isildur a little bit, but the actor, he's not super young. Like they can. I think they aged him. They probably aged the actor down
a little bit
for the season 1.
Yeah.
So they can age him if he gets some facial hair, and they can age him up. So yeah, I mean, I agree. Satisfying conclusion. These last 3 episodes have been phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm genuine. Like, I feel like a missing puzzle piece in my life has been returned because I now have great Lord of the Rings content.
Yes.
Back in my life and to be excited about. So
agree.
I love that, and like it delivered on like mythology. It delivered on action. Episode 6.
Yeah.
It delivered on, the performances were great. There's at least 4 or 5 characters that I love on this show. So like I'm all in.
100%. Same here. It looks amazing. Apparently this is like the most expensive show ever.
Yeah, it is the most expensive show per episode ever made.
Yeah. But you can tell just looking at it, there's nothing that I haven't seen or nothing that I have seen that looks like, I mean, it all looks so real, and it's incredible.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's very just great. Great job, everyone involved. So overall, you kind of gave your thoughts, but just for the whole season, what would you say overall for the season? Like I said, I know it just started off slow and it picked up for you at the end, but would you recommend this to someone?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I would obviously to Lord of the Rings fans, but even if somebody hasn't seen the Lord of the Rings movies, I don't know if I would still have them watch the Lord of the Rings movies first. Yeah,
I was about to ask you that. That's going to be my next question.
Yeah, I would definitely, but still, I would be like, hey, watch Lord of the Rings, then watch Rings of Power, and if you feel inclined to, go watch the Hobbit trilogy.
Sure. Yeah, I guess. If you want to be, completist, I guess. Yeah. My friend Jen, who you've met, she's never seen Lord of the Rings. So I'm curious. Okay. Yeah. So that's going to be my next question for you. Should I ever watch?
No, I mean, I just no. I would. Yeah.
Watch the movies first.
It has to be the movies. Just like I would say the same for Star Wars. Like you have to watch A New Hope first.
Watch them in order.
Of the release date.
Order of release. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no. Positive for me for sure. I mean, not perfect, obviously, but it delivered.
And like we said, we both said several times, super into season 2. Like this is probably my most anticipated thing for if it is for coming out in 23, whether TV or film. Yeah, definitely my biggest and most anticipated thing. So, that was a lot of fun talking about each of these episodes. I really enjoyed it. Each week for this season. We're looking forward to doing it again next year. We thank you all for joining us. If you're watching on replay, thank you for going along with us. Make sure you comment along. Tell us about your theories. Tell us the truth. Did you think Halbrand was Sauron? Okay, tell the truth. We'll know if you're lying. Okay, so you tell us. Go back and tell us what you thought about that. What do you think about the reveal about Halbrand being Sauron? And if you think the stranger is Gandalf, I think it is. I'm so convinced because of the way he was talking, because of that line.
And don't forget, we know that Gandalf doesn't show up to the third age in the mythology, but they are doing an adaptation that, like, it's not us telling you that he's Gandalf. It's like they have the freedom to do so if they want. Right. Well, they'll take liberties. They're taking liberties in the mythology and their adaptation. Yeah.
Because the Halbrand character alone is like he's not in the book, right?
Oh, true. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's this Sauron took many forms, and this is one that they chose to do for the show and to tell this story, to make that reveal. Because I think I was reading that Sauron doesn't reveal himself to the elves until he either had already done it or he doesn't do it until a little bit later in Second Age. I can't remember, but so they're clearly doing different stuff. But I think it works. I think it works for the show. So, but yes, you're right. We know Gandalf.
But I'll just say real quick, I love that the song that they play the song right away.
Yeah,
as the ending comes on, because then it says 3 rings for the elves, and then
9 for the men.
9 for the, or does it say 7? It says the dwarves next. So
dwarves.
Oh, I'll say really quick. See, this is where this is going really quick. They're gonna, so now that they created the rings, they're gonna show, look what we can do with Mithril, like, and then the king, or whether the king passes away or it's Prince Durin, they're gonna agree to use the Mithril in order. So okay, you make us 7 rings,
yes,
and then we'll give you Mithril. Then they're gonna have to break through the caves to get the Mithril, and they're gonna fight the Balrog.
That's a good. Boom. There you go. Yeah, right. Jimmy. Oh my God, just do it. Sorry. That's a good call, and I didn't even think about that, because that'll be what convinces.
And then they're going to be like, shoot, we need to defeat this Balrog. We need help from the men. We need help from them. And then they're all okay. If we're all in on this, we want some rings too.
That's it.
And boom.
And the fact that, and the idea that rings, that's how we can consolidate all this power. And
somehow Sauron's going to slither in there and get his ring made.
That's right. And make the one ring to rule them all. I'm still curious if it'll be made of Mithril or something else. I don't know. But that'll be fast.
His ring has to have some special sauce in there. We'll see.
Exactly. Because they said, like, Mithril, the writers, the creators, they said that Mithril in this world is like their adamantium or vibranium. So his ring is like the Infinity Gauntlet, basically. Hey, let's note this. Our buddy Amaru. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Amaru.
Says one adaptation idea I like is Gandalf. Like on Gandalf is that they'll have him go to Rune and he stays there until a third age. But him being a blue wizard would be cool too. That's a good. Yeah, that's. If he stays there until a third age, that's a long time. But I think that might make sense.
That's a good point. They could do that. Like, they could say, like, he never calls himself Gandalf or reveals himself as Gandalf during this whole thing, right? And he helps in some capacity, and then he goes away. Yeah, I mean, that could, And
then he shows up, and the Harfoots are hobbits now. And I don't know.
And it would explain why he's so fond of the hobbits.
Right. That's a good. You might be right there, buddy. So thank you for that. And you're exactly right. This is what we're saying. I like how they're making his comments. I just like how they're making new uses for the lore that add to it in new ways. 100% agree. 100% agree. I think that's and I think that's the right way to go. You can't always adapt everything exactly from text to film. Like, you gotta make adjustments and changes to make it work for the, especially and going from the difference between a show and a movie. You got to make those adjustments. So I agree. I completely agree. So well, thank you for all your comments, everyone watching live. Thanks for being with us here on this Sunday. And it's been a long season. It's a lot of fun. We can't wait to come back next year and do it again, or next season. Jacob Bartley, anything you want to plug or tell folks before we go?
No, just don't forget to watch Apocalypse Now on Tuesdays, and then we already shot our She-Hulk episode 9 review. You can go check that out on the YouTube channel as well. Yes. And then we'll have more Fandalorian Club reviewing the next episode of Andor next week. So keep an eye out for that. And you can find me on Twitter at JacobBartley824.
That's exactly right. You can find me on Twitter at KeithBarnes79. You can see both of us if you like us here.
The
Bartley and Barnes Show. Latest episode is out right now. So go back and watch that. Make sure you keep your eyes out for our next episode. Should be coming up in a few weeks very soon. Maybe we'll talk about this again. Talk about Andor.
Yeah, we'll talk about She-Hulk, Andor. Touch on this if anybody wants to. Maybe there's new information by that point or something. Yeah. Casting announcements for next season. You never know.
Yep. So keep your eyes on our social medias for that. Thank you again for joining us on this Sunday. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Jacob Bartley, I'm Keith Barnes. This is the Apocalypse Movies Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power review show. We'll see you next time.